Well,
Trying to
Josh,
remember.
here's something though, Josh. If you don't know much about psychedelics, for example, possibly a lot of other people don't. Why don't you ask the question that feels like the genuine question you're holding?
All right. So I've only done mushrooms a couple times, done acid once in college, all that fun stuff. So my very limited casual experience here, not so much on the spiritual sides of things. And I had a friend of mine actually recently who went out to his cabin after a bad breakup for this sort of thing, this sort of, I'll call it self therapy for lack of a better term, where he, microdosed on mushrooms and just enjoyed the woods for a little while. And he said he was experiencing sort of like a more spiritual experience. I'm kind of being redundant, but anyways, so I'm just as someone who's not very spiritual to begin with, and one who doesn't do a whole lot of psychedelics. How would you describe the benefits of a sort of spiritual experience in the woods on any kind of psychedelic? But I keep using mushrooms as an example because that's my most frequent used one.
Well, of course, the word spiritual and the concept of spirituality can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty broad experience. I guess I should narrow it down just a little bit by saying,
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Like an individualistic sort of, I guess, awakening would be a good way of saying it. Like just a new openness as a result of these psychedelics in a calming environment like the woods or something like that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot that could be said about it. But one thing could be something like there is something profoundly refreshing, healing, and positive about having the experience of being connected with something larger than yourself, and that connection being a positive one, like one that feels meaningful. So, for example, if your friend's going through a breakup, if you think about, and I'm just kind of going off the fly, so I don't know what your friend's experience was, but if you think about going through a breakup, my assumption is there's grief, and in that grief, there's sorrow. There's probably a sense of being alone. There's probably a lot of stories there. Maybe there's feelings of abandonment. There's maybe concerns about hopelessness or issues of inadequacy or worthlessness. There could be feelings of, there could be guilt, shame. There could be a lot of things going on. And taking something like psilocybin and sort of opening oneself up to feel those things while also opening up to a sense of being connected with the forest that's holding you in those things can kind of create a new way or a different way to move through those feelings and get perspective on those feelings in a way that doesn't make the feelings go away, but contextualizes them in a way that makes them more manageable, or maybe makes them a part of a larger process that enables you to move through them and on to the next stage of your life more coherently, effectively, or positively. Something like that, maybe.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just more curious about it than anything else because in addition, I've just had other people talk about it. So I was always just sort of like morbidly curious more than anything else.
Yeah, I made a lot of assumptions there. I made the assumption that, the dose was big enough that they felt connected to the forest, that they saw the forest as something that could hold them, that the forest is something that can hold you. I believe so, but that might not be a thing. But a lot of it, I think, comes down to being able to feel the feelings that are there in a way that though that feeling process is held in a different context than it would be otherwise. And by that, I mean psychological context, as in like you're maybe experiencing them less from this like, I just wish it wasn't hurting so much and I don't want to be here, to, this is just what's happening and it's moving through me, for example, is something that tends to come up with psilocybin, or it pushes those emotions through you, whether you want to feel them or not. And then also being in a situation where because you're on mushrooms, you're looking around and you feel the life of the trees, you feel the forest around you. You feel it living and breathing. You maybe hear it communicating to you. You maybe like have the sense that it cares for you, or that life cares for you, or that there is a care and a love that sort of underwrites all experiences, even the experience of the pain, the grief, the sorrow, the sadness, the worthlessness, the guilt. All of that could be underwritten by something greater than how we're reacting to it in the moment, which psilocybin in a forest can really wake up. And then those feelings and the stories we have about them can shift as a consequence of experiences like that.